Hey, what's up everyone? It's Scott the Frozen Gamer with another video of this week's hottest games of the week list. How do I find which games are hot? Well, it's not arbitrary at all. I actually go through the BGG hotness list every day. I give points to every game that's on their list, and then I total them together at the end of the week where I have a list of 70 or so games and I go over the top 10 with you. So let's start with number 10 this week. And number 10 fell down one spot from last week, and it's only 3 points less than it scored last week, and that is Dune Imperium. Not the newer Dune Imperium Uprising, just the OG Dune Imperium. This deck builder and more with battling and all sorts of good stuff in it goes way back. It was published way back in 2020, and it's still holding strong as a hot game 4 years later, which is just like mind-blowingly crazy. Number 9 dropped from its peak spot on the hot list at number 5 last week. It has 270 points this week, and that is Ark Nova. Not only has this zoo building game with the popular river mechanism, card action mechanism, been in the overall hotness list since I started it 4 weeks ago, it's one of 2 games left that have been in the top 10 every single week. Ark Nova is still being played all over the place. It's the Dice Tower's #1 game, the People's Choice #1 game of all time, and it's getting a boost from also being on Board Game Arena. Number 8 is Galactic Cruise, which is being crowdfunded right now. Last week it barely hit the list in at 73rd with 5 points, and now it has a whopping 275 points. Galactic Cruise is a big game about running a cruise ship in outer space. It's designed by first-time designers who were obviously inspired by Vital Lacerda. They even got Tool to do the gorgeous artwork of the game. It's a heavy, complex game, but it's supposed to run very smoothly and intuitively. Check it out now on Kickstarter. That is number 8, Galactic Cruise. Number 7 is Heat Pedal to the Metal, dropping from its highest ranking of 4, where it was at last week. I think it's safe to say that amongst board gamers, Heat is basically the racing game of choice right now. And I have not seen this much hype in a racing game since Will Wheaton had his own show on YouTube and he played Formula D over a decade ago. That's the last time a racing game has had this much hype. If you like racing games or Formula 1 in general, check out Heat Pedal to the Metal and you will not be disappointed. In at number 7 this week. In at 6 this week is another Dune game. No, it's not Dune Imperium Uprising, which surprisingly is the Dune game that didn't make the top 10 this week. But with 293 points and up 2 spots from last week, we have Dune War of Arrakis. This is the only other game other than Ark Nova that's been in the top 10 every single week so far since I've done this list. Think War of the Ring, the board game, with 2 asymmetrical factions that are just duking it out with against each other with minis on a map. And here, though, we're in the Dune IP instead of the Lord of the Rings, and it has sandworms with amazing sandworm minis. That's number 6, Dune War of Arrakis. Next, we have 3 games in a row that are all on the top 10 list for their first time ever. At number 5 is Heat Heavy Rain, moving up from 52nd last week. It scored 295 points this week. Heat Heavy Rain is the expansion to the aforementioned Heat Pedal to the Metal. In this expansion, you're going to get a new race car. You're going to get 2 new maps, and these maps are going to have parts of the maps that are submerged, parts of the racetrack that are submerged in water, and there's more going on with this expansion as well. The underneath water racetrack stuff's going to just make things crazy, I think. If you love Heat already, this is a no-brainer expansion to add. Number 5, Heat Heavy Rain. In at number 4 is Life in Reterra that barely made the list last week with 1 point. This week got 305 points, crossing that huge 300-point threshold that all the games are trying to hit. Life in Reterra is designed by Eric Lang and Ken Gruhl, who designed Cahoots and Happy Salmon of all games, making this a real designer odd couple here. And to make it even more odd, the game's being produced by Hasbro. It has a terrain builder where everyone's going to be building your own terrain in front of you, but you also get to add buildings to it and humans or people on it. And it looks really cool, especially for a Hasbro game. We have a tie for second place. We're going to start with the Veil of Eternity with 335 points. It was just on BGG's giveaway contests that they do, and it just got added to BGA as well. So both of those things helping make this game shoot up to the top of the hotness list this week. It's a fairly small card game where you try to tame creatures to become your minions. It's often been compared to Res Arcana in reviews that have come out for it. If this is your cup of tea, you can pre-order it right now and get a really great price on it. I've seen it go for $20 to $30 on online retailers, which is just like unbelievable for a good board game. Tying it for second place was last week's #1 game of the week. That's The Seventh Citadel. The Seventh Citadel is the follow-up sequel to The Seventh Continent. And like its co-inhabitant in second place, The Veil of Eternity, The Seventh Citadel is also a card game, but this one is a but The Seventh Citadel is a huge card game where you're going to lay out all these cards out on a table, creating a huge map where you go adventuring on, and there's going to be all sorts of problems and puzzles that are going to get in your way of trying to solve your adventure. It's a really unique game, and it just started getting delivered to its backers, and thus its current hype, but it should deserve hype anyways because it's a really unique, good game. This means, once again, we're going to have a new #1 game this week. Getting a huge 348 points out of a possible 350 points is the adorable looking game Floe. That is Floe, Floe, in at #1. This was in my top 10 anticipated games of the year. I think it was in that number 10 or 9 or something like that. And not only is this game adorable, it's supposedly a really crunchy big game as well. You have a hero and a familiar, and they're going to be traveling around this iceberg-like landscape, going on in this big adventure, gathering resources, fighting enemies, and just trying to stay warm. You're going to be unlocking new packages and stuff, and as you progress through the game, and you're going to put new stickers on the rulebook like a legacy game, even though this isn't a legacy game. As of this posting, Floe is still on Kickstarter. It's gotten over $400,000. So if you help fund it now, you can help get it over that $500,000 mark, which is crazy good. It's doing great. And that's why it's #1 this week on this week's hotness list. This week's hot list, whatever I want to call this thing, the hot list. Join me next week to see if Floe can hang on to first or if it's going to start flowing down the list. Peace and stay cool.